I'm Alanna Koch. I'm chair of the board for the Global Institute for Food Security, and I also farm here in Saskatchewan, and I'm a former Deputy Minister of Agriculture here in Saskatchewan.
Alanna, what makes Canada, Saskatchewan, and Regina an attractive place for FDI in the agri-food sector? And what are the region's competitive advantages when it comes to attracting agri-food FDI specifically?
Well, Canada is an agriculture powerhouse. So, we are a huge agriculture exporter. In Saskatchewan specifically, we have more than 40% of Canada's farmland here. So clearly, we are also a big part of that giant. Saskatchewan is the world's largest exporter of peas, lentils, durum wheat, canola, mustard, flax, oats. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal what we are producing for the world. We also have Canada's second largest cattle herd. And so if you combine Saskatchewan's production with Ontario, Alberta, other large agri-producing provinces, pretty phenomenal what we produce in Canada. So that's number one. We're big and we're a powerhouse. Number two is we have a long-standing reputation of being early adopters, really focused on innovation, specifically in Saskatchewan, but other places in Canada as well. In particular, Saskatchewan has a strong ag bioscience cluster with a really interesting mix of private and public sector, nonprofit sector, industry-led portions of the bioscience cluster that help to catalyze investment and bring products to market. So if we think about that in combination with some of our academic capacity, both at the University of Saskatchewan as well as the University of Regina, and some of the key infrastructure investments in things like the Global Institute for Food Security that I'm part of, but also our light source in Saskatoon, as well as Innovation Place in both Regina and Saskatoon. That is key for making, Canada a really great place for agriculture and food and a place to attract investment. We also, of course, have the protein industry Supercluster that is stationed out of Regina. And we do have this rich ecosystem that I talked about that included partners, that are private, public, industry-led, farmer-funded commissions. So, I mean, the full gamut, the full value chain really coming to bear on making us, this powerhouse. The other thing I want to mention, which I think is really important, is the regulatory and policy climate that needs to be established by government. So in Canada, the economic table, the agri-food economic table that was chaired by Dominic Barton, they set out some very lofty goals for agriculture with a focus for Canada to become even stronger in agriculture, even more focused on agri-food exports. So of course, what's really key there is that the federal government has the right kind of policy and regulatory climate in place to allow that to actually occur and the goals to be achieved. This is key. I'm not sure we're seeing all the signals that we need to see right now, but it's key that they absolutely get that right. What I would say is Saskatchewan, the government here, is a great example of setting that regulatory and policy climate. So first of all, they understand agriculture. Second of all, they're very supportive of agriculture and do all they can to encourage the right kind of regulations, very science-based, very business-focused. And then they've put programs in place to support that with whether that's tax incentives or small government programs to support agriculture investment and really strong focus on investing in research and innovation.
How has COVID-19 impacted the Saskatchewan agri-food industry? And what was the response from, I would say, both the provincial as well as the federal government in support of the industry?
Well, no question, COVID impacted the food supply system in Canada and the agriculture and food sector, specifically. But what I would say is that our sector responded very quickly and reacted, I would say very quickly to ensuring that we continue to have safe and adequate food supplies on grocery shelves. So first of all, impacted, yes, but responded, I think, very well. I think what the government did here in Saskatchewan was they provided, a very quick response with programs to help buffer and support industry through some of those rapid changes. And of course, we also saw some federal government programming to assist with that too, whether that be employment interruption support or business interruption support. And some of those programs continue on. What I would say lastly is that clearly the Canadian agri-food sector responded, very, very effectively when you consider the level of exports that continued. So, for example, the infrastructure of our railways absolutely delivered the goods. So while we had a very brief interruption, we continued to set record grain movement and record exports despite the challenges of the pandemic. Pretty impressive for the Canadian industry.
What risks and opportunities do you see global phenomena like population growth or climate change on Canada's agri-food sector and its ability to supply high quality food to the world? And do you identify other factors, by the way?
No question, we know that population growth challenge is ahead of us when we talk about having 10 billion people by 2050. And so some pretty, challenging times ahead for the agriculture industry to make sure that we feed the world. I believe that we are well poised to absolutely be able to deliver. So we know that innovation is going to be key in this. We know that we are resource rich here in Canada, in particular, agriculture, land base, innovation giants. And so for us, it's to be able to access all the tools and technology that we know are available to us and that will be innovated in the future. And so having that proper regulatory and policy climate to allow the industry to feed the world, it's going to have to happen through innovation. We have, as I said, the land resources here. We have the producers who are innovation focused. We do know that it's key for governments to have the right kind of policies and regulations. And what we need to do from a climate change perspective is it's a constant challenge for farmers to deal with a changing climate, but in light of even increased environmental pressure, because of climate change coming at us, we need to make sure that we're doing all we can to get more crop per drop, that we're innovating, that we are making sure we make the best use of our water and soil while taking care of the environment. And in this, I would say Canada is a model. We are world-leading sustainable producers. We are taking good care of an environment. We are, socially responsible in the decisions and the practices that we're using. And so I think we're well placed to meet those challenges. And there's lots of opportunities ahead, whether you look at just providing, bulk goods to the world's population or value-added goods that have, say, higher protein, higher quality, particular ingredients that those consumers around the world are now demanding.
With that in mind, Alanna, what areas of Canada's agri-food industry are you most excited about? And what areas are we leading in as Canada?
Well, I guess because I'm a farmer and perhaps also because I'm from Saskatchewan and have seen it, really firsthand, I am very excited about the agriculture and food sector moving ahead. I mean, no question, we are a giant producer of safe and nutritious food, sustainably produced. Canada dominates already in ag and food production. We should become even more dominant in world markets in this way. Further value-added products, I think also with specific end uses, specific ingredients, specific health attributes of those foods are really going to make a difference in the world. We've demonstrated that we're early adopters of new technologies. And so we know we can meet the challenges. And in particular, I've got 3 success stories that I'd really like to focus on that speaks to this excitement in the future. So if I think about zero tillage equipment, which was farm equipment that was invented here in Saskatchewan, has become world standard. We've now transformed absolutely the way we farm here in Saskatchewan, but really across Western Canada. And in fact, we've exported it to all dry land production around the world. World leading, really focused on sustainability, conserving soil and moisture while also capturing carbon. So a great success story, really focused on innovation. Secondly, canola. So canola, through new crop breeding technology, along with investment from the private and public sector, as well as having brilliant people, because we've been able to attract them to the West. So between Saskatchewan and Manitoba, people really developed canola as a healthy oil crop. It's now the gold standard in the world. So canola is our second success story. And then third is our pulse crops. So just over 40 years ago, we didn't even grow pulse crops in Saskatchewan because of some really great industry government collaboration and, again, brilliant people. Saskatchewan is now a world-leading exporter of pulse crops like lentils and peas. And so if I think about these 3 success stories, I think these are great examples of why I'm so excited about the future, because I know we can innovate. I know we can be early adopters. I know we can collaborate between private and public sectors, farmers, industry associations, to really make a difference, to become global leaders in other ways beyond those 3, quick examples that I've mentioned. And the other thing I think is really important to talk about here is the excitement that I see regarding youth. Young people who see a future in agriculture and food careers. So I saw this trend probably the last few years already with a heightened interest in agriculture and food. But I think because of the pandemic and this focus on food and safe food and adequate food supplies, I think young people really see great opportunity in agriculture and food. And of course, attracting the best and the brightest and young people to the sector is really something that excites me.
Earlier on, you mentioned the Supercluster, and I know you're involved with that too. What role will the Supercluster play in the sector's development, and are there opportunities for foreign companies to get involved with it?
The protein industry's Supercluster is really it's a great collaboration, obviously funded by the federal government, but obviously matching industry funds. And it's focused on investing collaboratively to be able to accelerate innovation, as well as see commercialization of products and advancements of companies that are already players in the sector to make us even increasingly competitive in the plant protein sector. So, as a major global producer of plant proteins, Canada is going to benefit from PIC's investments to make alternative protein sources, by investment and by innovation, that much more important to global food customers. And I believe, will be one of the best and most innovative in the world. Now, foreign investment is going to be key here as well. And we know that PIC is going to fund companies to be able to become new players or bigger players in the sector already established. But I believe this means that then those companies will become even more attractive for foreign investment, because it'll really put them in the window. I think sometimes agriculture is a story that we haven't told as well as we could have. And so PIC really helps to put a focus on plant protein and puts a focus on Canadian companies to be able to see the attraction of that foreign investment. And that's why I think PIC will have, a double benefit. Seeing Canadian companies succeed because of the investments that are being made, but in fact attract more investment from foreign interests to be able to maybe not just attract investment, but then connect us out into the world to future customers.
Of course, the Supercluster program is a great investment in the agri-food industry, but also in the overall economy, since there are 5 of them. What other government or other investments, incentives, supports are available for FDI specifically in Saskatchewan and in Canada?
Well, in addition to Saskatchewan's competitive climate that has been set because of our strong regulatory and policy role that the government plays. So in addition to that, Saskatchewan does have one of Canada's lowest corporate income tax rates, which is, highly competitive and really attractive, whether that be for Canadian investment or foreign investment. We have no payroll taxes. But then specifically, we have programs like the Saskatchewan Value-Added Agriculture Incentive. This is, again, a tax rebate on capital expenditures. We have a Saskatchewan Lean Improvements in Manufacturing program, which provides funding assistance for adoption of best practices and new technologies. We have a product to market program that promotes the development and expansion of businesses. We also have the Agriculture Development Fund, which invests in research. There's a Saskatchewan Manufacturing and Processing Investment Tax Credit that is in place, which of course would be for foreign investment coming in. We have a commercial innovation incentive, which is like a patent box, which lowers the corporate income tax rate to 6% for income earned from commercialization of new patents. And then we do have a 10% refundable tax credit for R&D expenditures. So all of these are very much focused on investment, whether that be Canadian investment or foreign investment. So, and again, kind of that overall climate of open for business that Saskatchewan has definitely set out, I think really means that we're an attractive place for investment. And of course, Invest in Canada is also very helpful for foreign direct investments. So, all of this in partnership with whether it be federal or provincial government programs is really going to make a difference and attract investment in Saskatchewan.